On this episode, we ask, why does God give signs to some people and not others?
Hello and welcome to TGI Monday. It's an exciting week for me. I've got a new knitting project because, ta-da!
Oh, there we go.
Nice work.
There
Nice
we go.
one.
Thank
Nice
you very much.
work.
It's very. I need to do the zip again, but I'm enjoying.
You're like the
wearing
same
it
colour
a
as the
lot.
banners, aren't you?
I'm not
You should have
quite.
put a TGI on the back.
It's
and
more
then
a sort
you've
of
got
peacock
a branded
blue.
top.
That
Rather
makes
than
us
a
feel very
royal
grown
blue.
up because, from that you
Yeah.
started it when we started doing
There you
this,
go.
and here it is.
Yeah.
Amazing.
How long did it take you?
Well, just over a year. Yeah.
Oh, there we are.
Amazing.
Yeah, but it's
Tenacity.
It's still cold enough to wear
And
it.
skill.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
have
So
the
that
patience
is
for
the
that,
main
to be
thing.
fair.
No.
You only go to Lidl's, you can buy them for a tenner there.
You
That's
can't
not
buy nice merino wool hand-dyed knitted to fit.
No, you can buy the fluffy ones, or?
Yeah.
That's also not the point, is it?
Yeah.
No, Hal, that's not the point.
I like Lidl's, though.
Good. I do too.
We're sponsored by
Let's
them.
move on.
Shops are available.
There we go. Well, we've got a question this week from Hazel. He's one of our regular viewers. And Hazel sent in this question a little while ago. She asks, why do some people get a sign from God? I've never had a sign from God. Why do people sometimes get a sign from God? What sort of signs are we talking about? What kind of signs does God sometimes send people, or why?
Well, when we're looking at the life of Jesus, that's kind of a helpful start point. So the miraculous healings, the kind of big interventionist stuff that sort
Yeah.
of signposted Jesus as who he is.
Yeah. So things that are out
yeah.
of the ordinary.
Yeah, well, I guess they wouldn't be wonders and signs if they were, if they happened in every moment, necessarily, depending on what you mean by a sign and a wonder.
Yeah.
But
A sign is always something that points to something else.
well, I kind of assume that
Yeah.
Hazel's asking about that kind of. I've never had that,
Yeah.
big lightning bolt from the cloud kind of stuff, which
Yeah.
is.
I think that's
something-
to do with how we think about things. But I think a lot of the time when we have Christian testimonies and things like that, you sort of wheel out this person who sort of says blah blah blah, my life was like this, and then something amazing happened, and then my life has changed. And I think that's brilliant and that's wonderful. Like with St. Paul, for example, right? Yeah.
Yeah, very dramatic.
Very dramatic. But I don't think that's most people's experience of call. Like if you think about last week's gospel narrative, where Jesus calls the first disciples, he doesn't say with a massive sign and wonder to St. Peter and St. Andrew, come and follow me. He says, come and follow me, and they do.
Not like Moses.
Absolutely.
No,
That's
that's
sort
right,
of why I brought this in. I know it's a very dated sort of looking book, but it's a church that I used to go to, and to celebrate 100 years of the church existing, they asked people in the congregation just to write a couple of pages about how God had worked in their life. And I just love it because although there are one or two stories that are quite sort of wow, mostly they're very ordinary, and they're just about God being part of their everyday lives and how God maybe helped them in a difficult time or helped them make a decision in life or whatever. But almost none of them have a big supernatural kind of weird thing happen to them. And yet they would all say, yes, I could see God guiding me and helping me and leading me through my life. And so I guess I kind of want to say, Hazel, maybe you have had a sign from God and you perhaps didn't notice it as that, but also most of us haven't had and don't need those sort of big, unusual, spectacular signs
So
in
the
our
people who
lives.
get the unusual, in the Bible, the people who get the unusual, spectacular signs are not good people. And this is what people think. They think the
Sometimes
better I
they
am.
are.
No, on if you put them together, right? The
As a
people
whole.
think, right, that if I'm good, then God will send me a sign, right? But if you look at the characters who get signs, not just in the Bible, but throughout Christian history, they're not the people who are on God's side. They're people like St. Paul, who refuse to listen and refuse to kind of come to him. And if you look all the way through, it's never the people we would think of as being close to God who have them. And I think the other thing is with signs, is I think Hazel is a sign, because I know Hazel, right? Yeah, she is a sign of the wonder of God, but she's so awkward and annoying, right? Yeah. but at the same time,
And a miracle.
and a
She's
miracle in
amazing,
herself, like,
properly.
because what she brings to our services and our community, right, is a sign that we love each other for who we actually are, and the friendship that we share in our community is a real sign of the wonder of God.
Great.
And I think the problem we have sometimes is when we think about signs, is we don't pay attention to anything in our world. Mm-hmm. We go around with our little shutters like this, and on our phones and all that, and we don't actually spend time listening to God. And one of the best ways to see the signs and wonders of our world is to practice the examine link in the description, right?
Okay.
Where you look back on the day and you notice how you feel, and you notice the wonders that God has done for you that day. And I had a sign and wonder from God the other week, right? Yeah, where I was practicing the examine, and it was my daughter Lydia running into school. And I can't, just for a moment, the wonder and the wonder and the joy and the hope and the magnificence of that is a sign and wonder from God. But if I wasn't paying attention, like I don't usually, right, that wouldn't happen.
You'd have missed it.
People want signs because, and I've never had a sign like that, but people want signs because God is distant and God is hidden, and we want naturally to live by knowledge and not by faith, because that's how we are. But I've known of people who have looked for signs constantly, and it's been very, very dangerous. The wiggly worm that they see on the ground pointing in a certain direction. Well, that must be God telling me to do this. Or, they had a certain bit of music at a certain time, and God's obviously indicating for me to do that. And actually,
in a parking space that suddenly appears just when you've asked for it.
The parking space is a great. Actually, that has happened to me a few times, and I know lots of people it has. But do you know what? The thing is with that is that we're not asked to follow signs constantly. We're asked to find God in His Word. We're asked to find God in each other. We're asked to find God in prayer. We're not actually asking God to kind of shuffle the deck of our lives in front of us and kind of make arrow signs.
Yes.
Am I spoiling your
Don't worry, Dan.
things again? That's not how that's not a very good example, but that's not how we're meant to live.
I think
We're meant to live wisely. Actually, we use our own wisdom to make decisions and not always look for pointers.
It's not our own wisdom, it's the wisdom of the church as well. Is that what our experience of God, right, should be replicated or reflected in other people's too. So if somebody, I used to have a friend who said that she was really pleased that God had told her to bring a Snickers bar out because somebody else wanted it, and I thought, you're mad. But that's the thing is, if we ask the church, we ask other Christians, do you think God asks you to have a Snickers bar? Everybody will be like, no. And the reason we've done these crocuses here is that's a good symbol of what we're talking about. Is in the winter time, we need to look for the crocuses. We need to look for the signs of new life. And that's what they are. And if we're not paying attention, we won't see it.
I think that's right. It's very interesting to me that not having miraculous signs and wonders happening all the time, actually I think is a great sign of our privilege that we have, as you say, God's word and free access to it and to experience. It's interesting to me that amongst the refugee communities coming in, and many of whom are turning to Christ in quite extraordinary ways, actually they do give quite a lot of testimonies of having dreams and visions and signs. And I think that's because, God needs to speak to them in unusual ways because they don't have the sort of normal ways as easily available.
It's the unusual
to them.
and unexpected. You go back to the Bible, the signs of Peter's dream about clean and unclean food. It was a big change in things. Abraham had nothing for 90 years. And then a sign is there. It's a big change.
Exactly, and even in the Bible, like you say, they come at unexpected times or in times.
And they're usually corroborated as well.
It's in God's mind when He
all the way
decides
through.
to do it, isn't
Yeah.
it? But actually, one of the things with signs is if you have them too often, sometimes it can lead to an accumulation of power in one or two individuals in the church.
Oh, totally.
And that's very dangerous.
That's
There's
why
quite a
you
lot of monopoly on that stuff.
It can be very dangerous.
That's why you need
the church. That's right.
But that's why when you want to be, you feel as though God is calling you to a certain ministry, you go to the church, you go to a vocations conference, and it's verified by the church. We can't do it as individuals.
Not everything we do at church is done via a vocations conference.
No, but it's just an example.
No, it's not.
Anyway.
No,
children, volunteering for children's work, or the creche,
Or the music group,
or the music group, or the
whatever
church
it is.
warden. That's not a vocations conference.
Anyway, but it is verified by the church.
But it's verified by the church.
Exactly.
And that's a very helpful thing. Hazel, thanks for your question. It generated lots of great discussion. I hope that was helpful to you. And I hope you feel that actually you can hear God speaking to you and showing you what you need to do, and that you don't need to feel anxious about never having had that kind of big sign in your life.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you write and tell us about your signs and wonders that you've had, and don't forget to tell your friends. Like us, share us in all the usual places.
It doesn't have to be exciting, but a bit more sort of pizzazz.
Pizzazz?